Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, the Georgia Bulldogs are taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. So guess what? We got a very special guest. I got main man Randy McMichael coming up next on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
We wanted to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen today. And also, we want to ask you that you leave us a 5-star review when it comes to wherever you download your podcast. We really appreciate that from you in advance. As you can see, we have a very special guest today, our main man, Randy McMichael. He's here to us with preview the Georgia Bulldogs. And also, we're going to talk a little Falcons and Cardinals towards the end as well. But Randy, I have to start off with here. You know, a lot of people are bringing up the situation where the Dogs took on the Alabama Crimson Tide back in 2021, and you know they took that L, and then they prepared for a month, came back, and was able to get the national championship. And now people trying to equate that to Ohio State taking a big L to the Michigan Wolverines. And right. They're going to come back and show and prove that, hey, they deserve to be here, and they're going to possibly upset the Dogs. I know how you feeling or what you swaying towards that, but how is it from a comparison standpoint? Do you think people can put those things in the words and not necessarily look at how the teams are constructed?
I don't know, Jarvis, because the first thing I'm tired of so far this week is damn Ohio State trying to play this damn underdog, we against us against the world type crap. They got spies and stuff going on in practice and everything. Jarvis, they are either 1, 2, or 3 most talented team in the country. All right, nobody wants to hear that. The reason people are talking about it because last time we saw you, you got smacked, and so that's the difference. That if you want to say that, because Alabama did smack us, and so, but for them to come down here talking all that like they're the underdog, they got one of the most talented teams in America, and they're going to be in an environment that they're not used to playing in this type of season. Usually, where they're playing, it's cold, it's snowing, the wind is blowing, all those different things. They're going to be in a controlled environment, all right, and so that's going to be a problem for Georgia. But back to your comparison, I can see the comparison because the fact is that a lot of people didn't think Georgia deserved to be in after they got beaten, but everybody knew that Georgia was going to be in, even if they would have lost that game to Alabama last year. For some reason, it didn't feel that way about this Ohio State team. It just felt like they backdoored they were in. Like they were not supposed to get in because if Clemson doesn't lose to South Carolina, Clemson's probably in. If USC doesn't lose to Utah, they're probably in. So you had all this stuff that went wrong in front of them. So it does seem a little bit more like they backed in. But for me to fall for that trap of, it's Ohio versus everybody, and we're going to play in Georgia's home state and all that crap. Miss me with that, okay? They are one of the best 3 teams in America. All right, nobody want to hear that, man.
And I was going to ask you a question, and Jarvis knows this is my favorite position group, right? The offensive line. So that's coming. But something you just said kind of took me back, Randy, to something that made me feel a type of way, which is at the beginning, people were saying, oh, man, Georgia's the number 1 team in the country, and they got robbed. They should have been able to play. They shouldn't have had to face Ohio State front center in the semifinal. And that's just, the conspiracy theory of, they just don't want Georgia to be a back-to-back champion. How did you feel when that initial rollout was, given in terms of those matchups for the semifinals?
Didn't really care because I know how good Georgia is. And the reason why is because it was like, okay, we kind of knew what it was going to be if USC lost. All right, we knew if USC lost, that Ohio State was going to be in.
Right.
It was unfair to dock them for losing in the Big 12 championship, and obviously Michigan's going to be there. So,
right.
Say that Ohio State's better than TCU. So if you want to go by who is the worst of the 4 that Georgia should have got, okay, maybe TCU, but TCU took care of their business, if you want to say, as far as them winning all their games, even though they lost to Kansas State. So I wasn't at a point where it's like, oh man, because to me, when people say that, they fear the team that they're talking about. Like some people are fearing Ohio State. I look at it like this. I think that as good as Georgia is, they can lose. They can play good and still lose to Ohio State because they just have that much talent. I don't think they will, But I look at Ohio State as a problem because they are. I thought this was going to be the national championship this year,
Yeah. Yeah.
between these two teams. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, Jarvis, y'all, I mean, you know just as much about this as I do. Is this maybe the best 1-4 matchup since they've had this playoff thing?
Wow. I mean, to be honest with you,
All the way back to the last time when Ohio State did its thing when Zeke Elliott was,
Yeah.
that to me, that's the last time a four really kind of did their thing.
and to add to that, I think that, when you talking about from a talent matchup standpoint, this is something that, you have to keep your eye on. You're talking about a quarterback who is probably going to be the first quarterback taken off the board, or it had the potential to be, right? Because we talk about matchups and everything that goes into these games where all these eyeballs, all these scouts are going to be watching this game. Like C.J. Stroud has a chance to, I know his draft potential is very already high. He has a chance to take it into the legitimate number one overall quarterback taking. You know what I'm saying? Just from that standpoint overall, like he can be probably in the Houston Texans uniform. At the end of that game, based on how he performed. So I think this is something that people are going to keep an eye on. But I think the guy that I'm really concerned about is Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I'm gonna ask you about that, but before we get into that, I want to talk about BetOnline.net because it's the fastest and easiest way to check in all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. I've been looking at the odds for this game. This bad boy has locked in at 6.5 points, basically a touchdown favorite for the Bulldogs, and I think that it's probably where it needs to be because of my concerns. I'm going to ask Randy Mack about that in just a second, but don't go anywhere because we come here, we bring you all this good information for all your ATL sports needs right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta on ATL Day Ones. For fun, you can find all your betting needs because BetOnline is the top online source for all your sports wagering information, live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. You guys come to us each and every single day for all your ATL sports needs. For all your sports wagering needs, go to BetOnline. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today because BetOnline is where the game starts. Now, a guy that, Randy, I feel like I wasn't necessarily sold on his talent from a talent standpoint and Kelee Ringo. And I think he's a guy that, along with C.J. Stroud, probably has the best chance to really, for his draft stock to skyrocket if he has a good game against Marvin Harrison Jr. What do you think?
Man, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a problem. He's big. Yeah. He's fast. He has the best body control of anybody. The way he works the sideline is unbelievable. He's the one coming in talking about we're gonna be the villain and all that. Just whatever, man. Whatever.
Right.
But this is
play ball, man.
Just play ball. This is the thing with Georgia. Georgia is best in man-to-man coverage. All right, and you saw they got in trouble in the SEC matchup when they were in them zones and everything like that. Kelee Ringo is he's gonna be matched up with them. The biggest thing with Kelee is this. He has the worst ball judgment when the ball's in the air, Jarvis and Tenitra. You're like, okay, did you not see the ball?
You get that TBS syndrome, that tight boot syndrome.
I think Jarvis and T that he's going to be ready for this game because he knows just like you said, this is a money game for him going against Marvin because Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 10 pick next year. Right. He's just that good.
Right.
So the thing with Kelee is this. He's got to be on top because Georgia can't give up the big play. They can't do that because they get in trouble that way. They got to make them earn it. One thing about Georgia's defense is they tackle really, really well. They tackle really well when they're focused. And so when I go back to Kelee in this matchup here, it's good on good. And I mean, one that gets on Kelee a lot. Me personally, I don't think he is good as everybody says he is, but he makes plays.
Agreed.
But I just don't think he's good as everybody. I don't think he's as good as everybody says he is. Now, with that being said, can he make me a believer? I believe in it, but you can make me a real believer because Ohio State's gonna make plays. They're that damn good. They're just that good. They're gonna make plays. The biggest thing with me about, especially the quarterback play, is does he figure out what Bryce Young figured out in the SEC championship game last year? Oh, you know what? Let me run a little bit. Let me threaten him a little bit with this run and pick up a 10-yard run here or a 12-yard run here and all those different things because he doesn't want to run. But it might be a situation where there's going to be lanes for him because Georgia's going to be in a lot of man-to-man. So, but those two dudes, and we talked about it earlier, in that controlled environment, angry don't win. Ain't going to be no snow, no rain, no nothing. It's going to be 70 degrees and perfect in there. And
Indeed.
what do you do with a squad like that in a situation like that? It's going to be a hump for Georgia, but I mean, they'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. And when I think about this spread, this 6.5 point favor that they have, a touchdown essentially, but I think even if it comes down to that, Randy, or if it comes down to a field goal, I just feel like it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, regardless of what the betting line is or regardless of what pundits say. But my question is this: if it is that kind of close game, I believe it'll be one in the trenches, and I would stack up Georgia's O-line with anybody's. In fact, of course, officially number 2 as a finalist for the Jim Moore Award, second only to Michigan this year, but I still believe they're the number 1 O-line. If it comes down to the trenches and who wins that battle, do you give an edge to the Dogs, or do you give that edge to the Buckeyes D-line?
I'll give it to Georgia. I mean, mainly because I know I'm going to call him Lorenzo Carter. Jalen Carter is a problem. He is a problem for them, and they don't have anybody that can block him. Now, the thing with Ohio State has 2, at least one, but maybe 2 first-round tackles. Paris and the other young man. They are legit NFL tackles. So does Georgia. And then Mims is probably going to start because I don't know if McClendon is going to go. He hasn't practiced all week. And so I don't know if it's going to be Mims over at the right tackle now. But we know Broderick Jones, he holding that left side down. Another first-round talent. The thing with Georgia is that can he counter when they try to find a plan for Lorenzo Carter? I mean, Jalen Carter. Because they're going to have they got to have a plan for him because he can wreck this game and he plays well in these big games. I think, when you look at Ohio State's, they had, I think I did the research, they had 26 sacks on the season. And I think Georgia they had 32 and Georgia's right at 26 sacks. So, and y'all remember that game where they had that one defensive end that scored a touchdown, forced fumble, and all those everything. Basically beat Penn State by himself. But he hasn't done anything. But the crazy thing is he ain't done nothing outside that game. He had 4 sacks, I think, in that game. He has 5 for the season. So he hasn't really done anything outside that game. But I think Georgia can handle their defense with our offensive line. And I think that they're going to have a problem blocking Jalen because they're good in the interior. They're not great. And so the biggest thing for Georgia is this, because they don't give up sacks. They have got to be able to run the football because I think this is going to be a ball control team for Georgia. I think they're just going to take the air out of the ball and can walk away with a 21-17 victory tonight on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the thing to keep an eye out on because at the end of the day, like you can easily analyze games, or if you want to call yourself analyst, I don't like to do all that stuff. Sometimes it's just, hey, I talk football. You know what I'm saying? Look at the lines, man. Look at the lines, because that's where you can find out where guys can win games, especially when you're talking about, like T said, as far as when it comes down to making a play, like who's going to be able to protect the longest, who's going to be able to get home. I think that's what kind of works out in Georgia's favor. Now, you mentioned Lorenzo Carter, so hey, let's talk some Falcons, man. They taking on the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday at Mercedes Benz Stadium. Desmond Ridder is making his first start at home. Like, what are you expecting to see from the rookie? I mean, let me ask you this. What have you seen from the rookie that kind of gives you a little promise, and what have you seen from the rookie that kind of gives you a little concern?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that he's gotten better from start to start. He's gotten better. He played better against a better defense, in my opinion, in Baltimore, and was able to throw the ball a little bit more. The problem that I saw in college is accuracy. You saw some great catches by Drake London that didn't have to be great catches. You got to put it in front of him and all those different things. But I think the command with it, he still is indecisive when to run or not. Like, just to get out the pocket and maybe get those 4 yards. Yes. I mean, that is another thing. But I thought he played a lot better. They got some really bad calls. The intentional grounding was a horrible call. The holding call was a horrible call. But, I'm still trying to figure out, because he still has 2 more games. And I know we want to see him play good and everything like that. And we had Arch on. We had Arch on talking about, the development of everything. I want to see him win the damn football game. How about that? I mean, I know you want him to play well, but how about you play well in a win and, and not play better in a loss? And so I think that's going to be the thing when you look at this game. We were having a discussion about, because I know you got to work there, Jarvis, and everything. Like you and how many of your closest friends gonna be at that game on Sunday? Because we're like, it's gonna be
it might be a little light up in the Matt.
It might be the press box.
Might be a little Matt. It might be a little light up in that thing, man. It might be me, T, a couple of my homeboys, like for real.
It's gonna be a seat pick'em game. Hey, pick a seat, man. But I think, I want to see him play well, man. I want to see him play well, man. I would love to see him come home and play and give more hope, because they got a big decision to make when it comes to the quarterback this offseason. And I know y'all are breaking all the way down, because now you're in a point where you got out of the financial hell that you were in.
Yep.
Right.
Cause I said this before. I said the Arthur Smith era doesn't start until Matt Ryan's no longer on the team, and you have your own guy at quarterback. You got two more games to see, because Desmond Ridder is going to be on the roster in 2023. Now, is it as a starter? Dang. Is it a guy competing for the starting position, or is it as a backup? Those are the three things that Terry and them got to decide on this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. And you were talking about Drake London. Speaking of rookies, yes, big plays, but also sometimes big fumbles. So what is it that he needs to do about, whether it's his technique, Randy, or whether it's just kind of having that football IQ as it relates to pro style of football, so that maybe he can protect the ball a bit better?
Well, I think one thing that Drake showed in that game was great football character, in my opinion, to be such a young player. And here's why. He lost the previous game the week before on a fumble, and then a big play when they're driving, he has another fumble. Now, he went and took the sleeves off and all those different things. Me, personally, I don't think that had nothing to do with it, but I'll never fuss with anybody who believes it does. It's whatever. But
whatever you want to believe.
If you want, whatever you want to believe. I just think Drake has got to realize that that it's a split second before they close on you. And I'm talking about, you might think when you catch that ball that there's nobody there. And I think he thought about it a lot in the previous game when he lost the ball. When they're there, you got to get the ball, you got to put it away, because that happens all the time, and it happens a lot to young receiver. It happened to me as a young receiver where, I just had it, and all of a sudden the ball gets knocked out of your hands. But I just love his football. I love his football character, because he didn't let it get him down. They end up going to have a great game. They get some great grabs and bailing his quarterback out a lot of times too. But it's just a daggone shame that Kyle Pitts isn't here to be a part of it. You would love to see him, because they got them a runner. Get them Tyler Algiers. That's your dude.
Yes.
Yeah, but there it is.
You got your dude. Man. You got your dude. But but that's the thing about it, T. He just got to realize that they coming, man. They are coming for the ball, because they don't tackle no more. They tackle the ball nowadays, and they try to, as far as create turnovers. And it's gonna happen again, because it's on tape. It's on tape, and coaches look at it. Hey, look at this kid. 5. Hey, once he catches, go for the ball.
Just go for the ball. Exactly. And there's something else I just wanted to piggyback on that. That's the same thing I feel like, Randy, with Desmond Ridder. We talked about it on the show yesterday, how he's got to just be prepared to sit in that pocket and not anticipate so much the rush, because it was almost like he was anticipating the ghost of Cam Jordan when they played the Saints. And if he could just kind of settle that thing down and not just anticipate it enough to get the ball out in time, but not to the point where, to your point, it makes Drake London have to do something phenomenal just to catch the ball, or also, to your point, it just checks his accuracy altogether, where it's like, well, Drake couldn't get that ball even if he tried, because Ridder just gets it out too quick because of what he's anticipating.
Well, I think the thing with Desmond is he's got to become a more of a passer than a thrower, and meaning like that, because he's trying to make it so just pass the ball, man. But it's like that goes with more experience and everything at this level, because at this level that he's at, windows are smaller. They're smaller, and it's all about time. You got to get the ball there instead of waiting for him to get open. You got to have better anticipation. The anticipation process of throwing the football, and he'll get there, man. That's what I said, because I got to ask y'all something. Do y'all think that you can learn in 4 games whether this guy is a quarterback next year? Can y'all do? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, T, I don't know about you, but for me, I don't think so. No. That's why I've always been on the side of, you know what, like, I'm okay with them going to the next year trying to figure out whether or not he can be the guy. how about you do this? Regardless of if he's the guy or not, how about you get some more talent to surround him with? Yep. Whoever, even if he's not the guy, you can bring in a guy that already will have talent enough so you can win some games. So I think that them building this roster or constructing this roster to where they can even the playing field around him by guys that can put the quarterback on the ground. So when you go against guys like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, you won't have that big concern. You don't have to worry about whether or not your quarterback is as good as him or he can go throw for throw with that quarterback. Hey, you know that, hey, you got a fire breather on both sides of the football, on both sides of the defense that can get home. So I think that whether or not you can figure out whether he's the guy in these 4 games, I don't think it really matters. It's all about building that talent around him. So if he is the guy, cool. If he's not, cool. Because guess what? You got enough talent to bring in a guy, a veteran guy, if that can, maybe bridge that gap between until you get your young guy.
Yeah, and I would agree too, Randy. I don't know if 4 games will get it to you. And I go back to the Saints game, for example. So it's kind of an uphill battle, right? So you got your rookie quarterback trying to bring you back in a comeback situation in that hostile environment. So I don't know if we got to see the best of Desmond there. And then you got the Ravens, which, hey, they still have a Ravens type style defense. So, you really didn't see as much as you could have seen out of him. And then also, just like you said, Randy, you got no Kyle Pitts. And essentially, he's like, we know he's a tight end, but he's like your wide receiver 1A and wide receiver 1B.
Right.
So if you don't have 1B out there, you really don't know what you're working with. And I would venture to say as well, Randy, in this day and age, you probably need a good 1C as well to kind of see what he is. And that could be a secondary to, and forgive me for kind of going a little far with this, but that could be a 1C that is, or even a 2A or 2B that's behind Algier and CP, because we know you do have some nice pass catchers out of the backfield. So maybe, because CP, I don't know how much he's going to have left in the tank. So you also have to maybe consider getting him somebody else in that running back room who can also give him an additional pass catcher, depending on what you do with the rest of that core. But yeah, I'm not sure about 4 games, especially too, Randy, because so many of the teams that he's playing these last 2 games, I don't know if they're going to be at full strength for you to be able to see if when he goes up against a solid D, if he's ready.
I want to see y'all face reaction to this, man. With the 5th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Will Levis or
get the freak out of here! No,
you, Randy.
No, Randy, no, not on this show, Randy. No.
I asked the question on the show. I asked the question on the show today. And that was the same damn reaction I got. I was just asking. That was all.
I love you to death, bro, but no, man. Hell no. No.
To the no. Look, Randy, you can't do the same in round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I give you 1 O-lineman just in case you feel like Caleb McGarry was just telling you what he can do because, you didn't pick up his 5th-year option. I'm going to give you 1 O-lineman. But I feel like it should be and the number 5 pick and the number 25 pick and the number 717th pick. Defense. I don't care where you go. You want to go with an edge rusher? Go there. You want to go with an interior lineman? Go there. I really don't care. I might not need you to, sneak a secondary person in there until late, but I'm telling you, I'm going to run up 985. I'm going to run up 985. You got to give me another wide receiver.
Oh man! I was just asking.
Man, you trying to start some stuff, man. Look, you the type. See, Randy, I knew you had this in you. Like, you always seem like a guy that could throw a little stink bomb up in that mug and be turn around. As soon as it goes off, you be like, "Who did that? Who did that? What's that smell?"
All right, Randy. One more before we go, since you threw that on us. We are just 2 days away from New Year's. So what should the Falcons' New Year's resolution be as it relates to that roster?
Oh my God, let a Bosa type pass rusher demand a damn trade. Somebody at that level. I don't want to play here no more. You know where I want to play in Atlanta. 15 feet.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good one right there, man. I wish I would have said that.
Yeah, because they got all this money, but there ain't really one of them dudes out there for them to give.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a game-wrecking, fire-breathing, outside pass rusher.
Oh man, that would make me so happy. See, Randy,
it,
that's a good place. That's a good place to end. You see how the serenity just came over my body right now? I'm just cool, all relaxed, man. We definitely appreciate you, man, for ending it like that, Randy. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show today, man. Really appreciate that, brother.
Definitely.
Man, y'all know I'll do anything for y'all, man. Y'all don't get out of here, man. Y'all know everything for my family, man. Y'all be easy, man. I'll talk to y'all.
All right. Happy New Year to you and yours, Randy.
Happy New Year, man. Cheers.
It's just typical Randy. All right. We appreciate Randy McMichael for coming on with the show. And also, we want to make sure we want to say thank you guys for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Why don't you stop by and make Locked On Sports Today your second listen? They're free and available wherever you get this podcast. We hope you making sure you downloading this podcast and listening to it. You know, you can get Locked On Sports Today like we do for the culture. They do Take of the Day, and make sure you check those guys out as well. Coming up on, we will not be here on Monday, so don't look for us on Monday. I know, don't get sad, don't start crying. We'll be back. We'll be back on Tuesday talking Falcons, Cardinals, Georgia, Ohio State. Did they make it to the national championship? Are they going back to back? We'll get into all that. Make sure you, and T, got any parting words before we come back and see them in the next year?
Just be safe in those ATL streets, because as long as you're safe out there, you get to come back and see us on Tuesday. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Y'all come back now, you hear?